Justice is back. Thank God you're back and justice is back. Okay. Help, mommy. Okay, where do we start? So do you want to start with the charges in New York against... Let's start with the good news, the obviously the grand jury in New York with Trump and company. So, you hear all kinds of things all over the place, right, about what's going to happen, who's going to flip. It is unusual, first of all, right? Normally a grand jury is 4 weeks, maybe once a week, and this is 3 times a week. And now, does it mean they're going to do the whole 6 months, or what happens there?
Yeah, not necessarily, but grand juries in New York typically sit for 4 weeks at a time, and the DA has impaneled this grand jury to sit for 6 months, 3 days a week. So, listen, there is no doubt that this is the last stop on the road to an indictment of Trump and company. When you look at every single data point, Steph, it points toward indictment. From the 2-year battle to get a hold of Donald Trump's taxes and financial documents that took 2 trips to the Supreme Court. That's an important data point. Then they hired an expensive forensic accounting firm to pour through those records looking for crime. Then they hired Mark Pomerantz, an expert former federal gang and white collar prosecutor, to be part of the team. And now they've impaneled a special Donald Trump grand jury. This is the last stop on the road to an indictment. I would bet a buck that Donald Trump will be indicted, and it may not take 6 months. That's the outside window. I think we could see indictments sometime later in the summer.
Oh, sorry. I'm fine. I'm fine now. I'm back. So, because we've heard so much talk about, first of all, the story this morning, Jennifer Weisselberg, the former daughter-in-law of Trump CFO, Alan Weisselberg, says she's being evicted from her apartment because she's obviously been speaking out about Donald Trump's criminality. She said, Alan Weisselberg is on my lease. Yesterday, I was served to leave my apartment within the next 7 days. You just saw her on Ari Melber with Michael Cohen and Stephanie Winston-Wolkoff. She said, I spoke about details on the Trump payroll corp on that show. There's definitely tax evasion for the first time. They seem really nervous. She says that she thinks her former father-in-law will flip. He doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison or his kids. This feels so mobby to me, right? That they just here's, a free apartment. Here's your grandkids are getting their school paid for, but, stay in line, right? But that's where,
Cy Vance could be using the New York RICO statute to go after the Trump organization as a criminal enterprise. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And look, Alan Weisselberg can't be so foolish, can't be so naive to believe that Donald Trump is not prepared to say, wait a minute, Alan Weisselberg never told me about all these financial crimes he was committing on behalf of the Trump organization. So, of course, that's absurd because we all know what a micromanager Donald Trump is. So he knew about and approved all of these financial crimes. But he is going to throw Weisselberg under the bus. So why wouldn't Weisselberg get in front of that, come on board, and tell DA Vance all about Donald Trump's crimes?
Yeah. I mean, but that's what Michael Cohen said, right? They're all going to flip on each other. He's going to flip on his own children and that just goes with his entire life. I mean, his entire business model has been fraud. We forget, right? Weisselberg already testified against him. Which was it the fraud? Trump University. Trump University or the fraud charity they had to shut down. I mean, it really, boy, he has a lifetime of justice karma coming, doesn't he? I mean, it's extraordinary what he's gotten away with.
Yeah. And just to do a quick, deeper dive into the grand jury, remember, Cy Vance has been issuing grand jury subpoenas all along for Trump's taxes and financial documents. Remember, Jennifer Weisselberg said, I got a subpoena a few months ago and I handed over a bunch of boxes of documents. What makes this 6-month grand jury different is I believe it's impaneled to put all of the live witnesses before the grand jury. Why is that important? Because when you put a witness in the grand jury, you're locking that witness into their testimony such that when they're called at trial, if they try to spin you and back away from testimony that incriminates Donald Trump, you can use their grand jury transcript against them, and you can hand it to the jury and say, it doesn't matter what that person just said on the witness stand. Here's what they told the grand jury. And that is evidence you can use to convict Donald Trump. That's why it's so important at this moment to spend however many months it takes putting all of the live testimony before the grand jury.
Now, Rudy Giuliani says that this is illegal, this investigation into anything that he or Donald Trump has done that's illegal. What is your legal take on that, Glenn? Do we have a Rudy to inflict on him? Which one? 9? Yeah, let's hear it.
First of all, Rudy Giuliani should know what's illegal because he's been involved in illegality for the last several years. But everything Rudy Giuliani says can just be, discarded because all he's trying to do is grasp at whatever straws he can to try to keep from being indicted himself. And I have a feeling after the Department of Justice prosecutors pour through everything they got in Rudy Giuliani's electronic devices, courtesy of a federal judge authorizing a search warrant for Rudy Giuliani's stuff, Rudy's going to be, looking at an indictment himself.
Yeah. You gave us a heads up on Twitter just for what we should expect or see going forward with the grand jury. You said prosecutors cannot disclose who they subpoena to the grand jury. Grand jurors cannot disclose the identity of witnesses who appear before the grand jury. However, the witness can reveal that he or she has been subpoenaed to appear before the grand jury. So, because everybody's going to be on the edge of their seat, right? Going, what's happening? What's going on? Who's today, right?
Yeah, so here's what we're going to see. First of all, we're going to see reporters camped out trying to see who goes into the building and who leaves the building, and then chase them down and say, did you testify in the grand jury? You will probably only hear from witnesses who are antagonistic to the prosecutors, right? People who might still be in Donald Trump's camp, because what they're going to do is come out and they're going to be like, I told that grand jury Trump did nothing wrong and this is a witch hunt. Those are the kind of people who are likely to step to the camera and air out their BS. The actual incriminating witnesses, and I'm telling you, they're going to call everybody who, has ever come within 100 yards of the Trump organization. They're going to call bank executives who approved loans. They're going to call insurance company types who issued insurance policies on Donald Trump's properties. Why? Because they're going to show how Donald Trump was playing with the value of his properties, inflating them for loan purposes, deflating them for tax purposes. And when they pour through all these financial documents, the fraud is going to be screaming. Yeah. It's going to be jumping off the pages, but they have to put all these witnesses before the grand jury so they can build that case.
It's so weird. Who told us all of this is Hillary. So that's funny because it's all on tape. I'm going to die mad. Okay. So you said the DOJ appealing Judge Jackson's order to release the DOJ bar Trump protection memo. It feels wrong, but it may not actually be wrong, depending on the rationale. I've been just waiting for you to come home and tell us about this because I don't get it, right? I mean, obviously, I know a lot of your colleagues, Neil Katyal, we've had Barb McQuade, Joyce Vance on. On its face, it seems infuriating that why are we protecting Barr's DOJ, which was so clearly corrupt? But give us your take.
This is deep dive stuff. It's tough to condense down to a minute, but let me try. So it looks like a transparency deficit because there's this memo and we all want to see it. So when we hear that Merrick Garland's Department of Justice is fighting its release, appealing Judge Jackson's order releasing it, we lose our minds. We get so frustrated because it feels like something is being hidden here. I don't think that's what's going on. Listen, let me try to break it down. I'm going to use a hypothetical. If the memo says, the memo that was generated by all these Department of Justice prosecutors, if the memo says Donald Trump committed crimes, and then Bill Barr stepped to the camera and says, Donald Trump committed no crimes, and I'm relying on the memo as authority for that conclusion. The memo is not the problem. Let's assume the memo says that. It's not the problem. What the problem is Bill Barr twisting the basis, lying about the basis for his announcement that Donald Trump committed no crimes. And Judge Jackson already told us that. She told us Bill Barr lied about his justification for saying Donald Trump committed no crimes. But this memo, Steph, it actually does enjoy a deliberative process privilege. And that's what Merrick Garland is trying to protect, because tomorrow Merrick Garland is going to have to use the deliberative process privilege legitimately. And so he's trying to preserve the institution's ability to use that privilege. It's not the memo that's the problem. I would love to see the memo, but we don't need to see the memo to conclude that Bill Barr lied to us. That's why this feels wrong, but I don't believe it actually is wrong.
So do you think Merrick Garland will prosecute Donald Trump for obstruction of justice and or Bill Barr?
He will indict Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a federal problem, and we need a federal solution. He's violated the laws of the United States. We can't let New York State do our dirty work. We can't let the state of Georgia do our dirty work. Yes, those states should prosecute for violations of their state laws, but Donald Trump violated so many federal laws. He's a federal problem. It takes a federal solution, and the only solution is a federal indictment. And I believe Merrick Garland and his Deputy Attorney General, Lisa Monaco, will do just that.
Oh, my God. Okay, sorry. I get very overexcited when Glenn's here. So Donald Trump's attorney defended him in his speech on January 6th, saying he's protected under the First Amendment and had absolute immunity. What? You have children. Why does he keep invoking what seems like some sort of kid's superpower? Absolute immunity. It's like, no, he doesn't, right?
Yes. He has unicorn immunity, right? Absolute immunity has a long and distinguished history of being rejected by the courts. It was rejected in 2008 in federal district court by Judge John Bates when George W. Bush raised it. The court said, no such thing, GW. Now, and think about this, in 2020, what did Donald Trump argue before the Supreme Court trying to keep his taxes and his financial documents buried? He said, I have absolute immunity. In 2020, his own Supreme Court said, no, you don't. There's no such thing. There's no unicorn immunity, though Donald Trump continues to raise it. But let me give you an example of when a politician does have actual limited immunity. If Congress sent legislation to Trump and he vetoed it, which he would be entitled to do, and citizens were so angry that they sued him for the veto, he would have limited immunity. You can't sue a president for doing something that is part of his official duties. But guess what? Launching an attack against the Capitol to overturn an election is not part of his official duties. No immunity.
Thank you. Okay, I have so much more, but oh my God, you can't ever go away again. So the filing from Trump's legal team also argues that Eric Swalwell can't sue him because the House already impeached him and the Senate tried him. You remember at the time, Republican leaders said, oh, well, this isn't the right place, but there's a right. Mitch McConnell said he hasn't gotten away with anything yet. We have legal. But this is what they keep doing, right? Then when it comes back to, the lawyer suggests if Trump were held responsible, Swalwell and Democrats could be held responsible for the shooting of Steve Scalise at a baseball practice. Okay, can you explain why this is different and why apparently there is no correct venue in which to hold Donald Trump responsible for anything, according to them, right?
That's the game Trump is trying to play, and he will lose. The Swalwell suit will go forward, and discovery will be conducted. And discovery is Donald Trump's worst nightmare because they can force him to sit for a deposition. They can put him under oath. And frankly, after he answers the question, state your name, I'm not sure he can tell the truth about anything after that. So, just like when they were saying you can't prosecute a sitting president, but you can prosecute him after he leaves office. And now Donald Trump is saying, oh, and you can't prosecute me after I leave office. That's a recipe for shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue and getting away with it completely. All of this will be rejected in a court of law once this stuff is litigated.
Yeah.